Oh, now I see it.
Hey, it's Tim, Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk. Join me the 5-1 world, Jill Simonello from Chicago. So, Jill, it's been about 2 months we did a live stream. I haven't felt like it, frankly. And
I haven't been
you haven't
available,
been around.
so.
And yeah, so want to do a live stream tonight. I had somebody comment. They asked, where is the long form discussion at? They really enjoyed it. And I was like, okay, well, if you guys are enjoying it, well, you're going to get it. So we'll do this as a podcast, download as well. The Truck News Recap is on the podcast too, if you haven't heard that, or on the Friday afternoons. Liking that format quite a bit. Some people, you guys liking it too. So since you guys like this and like that and whatever, Jill and I are available to talk. Well, yeah, darn it, we're here for your entertainment apparently. I feel like I got strings above me, like pulling on my shoulders.
And I'm going like this.
So we wanted to talk RHO, and we've talked a little bit. Jill and I talked offline on it. We talked in person. I have to admit, I made a pretty massive error in the RHO video I put out. There was about a 6-minute thing where Jill and I talked about RHO in the front seats that I completely omitted from the video. So here's your fill-in. Jill and I talking about the RHO.
Yeah, you're just like ignoring me. You don't like me, and you want people to forget about me. I see how you are.
No, I completely blew it, and I was not at home. Variety of excuses, but anyways, I blew it. That's the bottom line. I can make a bunch of excuses, but I totally blew it. Yeah, I'll meet with you in Texas next time I'm there. Jadis. I'm bad about pronunciation. Joe's got it.
Ojeda.
Ojeda. Yep. So I'm not a good pronunciation kind of person. If you notice, I don't say 3-syllable words on camera because I really can't.
Say my last name.
Yeah, Simonello. And Estradal. Why can't we just Smith and like Thomas? Or my wife and I are talking about taking her name Thomas. Like it was much better. So we should actually J like the H. Yes, I took actually 4 years of college Spanish. I'm still bad at it. So I do apologize, but I'm not very good at those names. I'm not going to be good at any names. It's tough for me. We should just go around like Tim, Bob, and Jill.
Can you say Jill?
Jill. But yes. Anyways, so back on topic. The bad boy, the RHO. So I want to back up because in the video I made sure I put a little snippet that you did a Rebel Rally and what the Rebel Rally was. So, and I should put out conspiracy theories. We did not time this. We did not say Tim bought an RHO, then Jill. So let's back up here. That was back in what, the spring or the summer, something like this, something in that range. Ram approached you to do the Rebel Rally, which is the women's only navigational rally. You've done it the last couple of years with Hyundai, like Sunday, Hyundai. You've done it with Hyundai, and they approached you, and then you had found out it was RHO before I was going to buy one. I think that's how it worked out.
I feel like you were talking about buying an RHO pretty simultaneously to when Ram asked us to run the RHO in the Rebel. And it was funny because they were talking about trying to get the media program in before Rebel, and then that didn't happen. And then they were like, well, we may not have the RHO done in time for the Rebel, so maybe I'll be driving a Rebel in the Rebel. And so we did all of our training in the Rebel. And then like about a month before, they're like, no, we're gonna have the RHO. And I was like, yes. Which I'm very happy about because, I mean, if you like the Rebel, you will love the RHO. It is quite literally I think I said it. I wrote a review on the drive, and at the very end, I was like, I think it's the best truck I've ever driven.
Yeah, so it's interesting. Neither one of us made it to the reveal. I think there was a conflict, and we had somebody else.
I think we did the reveal in Texas. That was the reveal.
They did. Didn't they do something in Detroit?
I don't think so. I think the official reveal was at the Texas fair.
I feel like it was before. Anyways, so I had not seen the truck until the State Fair, Texas, and I think it was revealed at a private thing in Detroit or something. I feel like that memory serves me right. And I didn't make it, and you didn't make it to that reveal. Look, guys, we don't get invited to everything. Neither one of us were at Scout last week at the VW Scout reveal, and I've had 2 people now call me and say, I missed you in Nashville. And I'm like, I wasn't there.
I
So
wasn't invited. Sorry.
yeah, we don't. Sometimes invites get weird and they get dropped off the radar, or whatever happens. But so I wasn't at either one of those. But yeah, so I saw it in Texas. I did a video with Brant Combs about it, and my video on Texas State Fair. I feel like about the same time you were finally getting into it. Because remember that Tavares had a big thing about the plants. Plants were building vehicles right, and quality was an issue. And then they sent the European engineer managers in to fix the plants. They fixed the quality issues, they said, at the SHAP, which is the Sterling Heights assembly plant. And I don't know the details on that. I don't know anything about that. So I do know that they fixed the quality. That pushed things back, though, right? And then I heard somebody on YouTube commented they're only building like 4 to 5 Ram RHOs a day because they have a whole lineup. They have Rebel, they have the Rebel X, they have the Warlock, they have a variety of the regular Ram 1500. They have a variety of trucks right now, so they're trying to figure out like how to do that. So it's not a volume thing. So it didn't surprise me that there was a question mark whether you're going to be able to drive that or not in a Rebel Rally.
Yeah, no, and we went to we flew into LA and we were driving up to Mammoth Lakes. The competition began on, I want to say, the 12th, actually, like the 11th, I think, was the Thursday when the pre-tech and tech occurred. We got there on the 6th, and that was the first time we saw the truck, was on October 6th. And so on October 6th, we got the truck. We drove it 5 hours north to Mammoth Lakes. And then we spent Monday just kind of like familiarizing ourselves with the truck, we took everything out of the truck and sorted it and reorganized it. Wrong shoulder. There is my gear bag. I haven't cleaned it out yet. I need to actually wash my sleeping bag and all that kind of stuff. But so like Kristen and I both come with our own gear, and then we had to like combine certain things like our sleeping bags. We use my blue bag as the gear bag to take back and forth from the truck to the tent. And just sorting everything out and organizing and all that kind of stuff. And what's really funny is like in the Hyundai, we literally were packed to the gills, but in the RHO, it was just like, we have space to spare. We actually took the BMW team's spare tire up to Mammoth Lakes from LA for them because they couldn't fit it in their vehicle. And they're like, would you take that up for us? And Kristen's like, well, I think we should have room. And I'm like, if we don't have room, we've got problems. We packed way too much shit. So yeah, we took their tire up for them. And so then we spent Tuesday taking it off road and actually going through day 1 of last year's Rebel Rally, looking for checkpoints and just getting used to driving it off road. So it was like rocky, a little bit muddy, and we had pinstripes on the vehicle before we actually went into the Rebel. I was like, oops. I love that truck. And the only thing that I have to say about it is it can be a little bit wide at times, especially, for the trees and things that are along trails. But damn, it was so good.
Yes. And Allie's right. You are so right. No. You guys did so good in Rebel. That's what I want to get to. Comments are flowing through. I'm like, I got it highlighted and the button changed, whatever. So Allie's here. And I was just actually north of Allie there this weekend. Things were different. I would have stopped by and said hi, but you guys did great in the Rebel Rally. It's a really difficult experience. If you guys don't know, it's no GPS, it's maps, it's magnifying glasses, it's time, speed, distance kind of stuff. Where I guess is a way to say it. You have checkpoints you can get to. You have enduro day. You have different things you can do, and basically you're in the desert, and they're like, here's your points. You can drive those points and do it.
Yeah, don't die. No, so I mean, essentially every day is different. And we traversed more than 3,000 kilometers this year, so more than 2,000 miles. And we did, a couple of days started with what they call time, speed, distance, enduros. So they give you a route book, and they will say in 2.93 kilometers, turn right at 298 degrees. And you're just like, there's 2 rights here, so you have to figure out which one is 298 degrees. And then they'll like show a rock on there, and they'll like turn right at the rock, and I'm like, there's rocks everywhere. And so but 2.98 kilometers, you've got to turn, and then they will give you a speed that you have to go, like 30 or 35 kilometers, and 45, whatever the kilometers are. And so then they have time controls along the route, and they're usually, these time speed distance enduros are usually about 20 or 30 kilometers. I think we had one that was like maybe 45 kilometers, but there's 3 or 4 time checks. And so if you are going the speed and you make all the turns correctly without making mistakes, you should get to the time control at X time, and you get points for being on time. And I would say we had maybe 3 or 4 time speed enduros during the Rebel this year, and Kristen and I finally nailed it. I think we missed 1 point on each of the enduros, but we finally got a system down, because too often you're like looking at the route book and you're like, slow down, speed up, turn, and you're like, ah. And so this year, Kristen and I were like, you know what, we're just going to set the stopwatch and then go the speed. And when we get close to a time control, I'll look and I'll say, okay, we have 10 seconds to get there. Maybe slow down a little bit. And so we did it a lot more relaxed this year. And like I said, we only missed 1 point on each enduro. So I felt pretty good about that. But so like you have those, so that's one skill set. And then the other skill set, I like to call it an adult scavenger hunt. And they give you longitude and latitude points, like 20 to 30 in a day. And some will have a green flag, some will have a blue flag or a blue pole, and then some are completely unmarked. And you have to go find these checkpoints, and you have a tracker that you can click the longitude and latitude on, and then it goes back to base camp or headquarters, and they will know if you hit the point or not. And then you get points for that as well. So you get points for the time speed enduro, you get points for these checkpoints. And if you are lost and need to take a wide miss, you can click the tracker and get your longitude, latitude points and plot them on the map, but that is a 10-point penalty. If you are late to a green checkpoint, that's a 5-point penalty. So it's, I don't know, it's like, it's a really fun game. And Kristen doesn't agree with me. She doesn't think it's fun. she thinks it's great to finish. But I think it's fun, and I like the challenge of it, and it's a game, and that's what you have to keep remembering. Like, we're not going to die. We're not going to get lost. Like, there are safeguards in place. As long as you're paying attention, nothing bad is going to happen to you, and you're just trying to get the most points.
Okay. So let's talk about a few things happened that I know, because in our conversation with things. So you rode passenger, you drove the RHO for about 6 hours before the event. Then you rode passenger.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you spent a lot of time in the seats. So first of all, we answer the question we get on this channel all the time, because we've brought up many times the GM seats being terrible. And so we want to talk about, make sure that the seat comfort is something we should talk about. And I think you and I are in agreement on this, that our tushes are feeling pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, we spent 10 hours a day sitting in this vehicle, 10 hours a day. We didn't stop to eat. We didn't take breaks. Like, okay, maybe there was a pee break here and there if we were hydrating appropriately, but 10 hours a day sitting in the seats, and they were actually really, really comfortable. And the thing that I really liked about it is there's massaging seats there. So like at the end of a 10-hour day, we would be like rolling into base camp, and I would like pull out a sparkling water and turn on the massaging seats, and I'd just be like, just another day in the office.
You pointed it out in the drive, which I think the way you worded it was pretty interesting, that you were trying to defend it and also like say, my God, these things are good, right? It was kind of those things like, don't hate on me, but 10 hours in a desert. Yeah. So I tell people all the time, like, cooled seats, massaging seats, you laugh at these things. People don't need this crap. Well, it's a truck. God, whatever kind of stuff. You do it at a rally like you did. It's a nice feature to have. And I've done long road trips, and it's like, all of a sudden you're like, my back, I don't know why I put the lumbar up. I try to get my back in a good spot, but after a while, I'm not an adjustment. And the massage does, hate to say it, guys, I'm not getting older or younger. I'm getting older. That's it. Today I'm as old as I've ever been. So I just feel like after a while, it's like that stuff does matter. I do want to talk about the issue with the tire. because I think this is a great story, and actually, it's going to launch us into a segue talking about off-road Michigan with this story.
Yeah. So we were in Johnson Valley, and I don't know if you are familiar with Johnson Valley or not, but it is rocky as shit.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like, inclines, declines, but like sharp, pointy, teethy, jagged things everywhere. And we spent a lot of time in Johnson Valley because we and in Sperry Wash, which is near, I think that's in Nevada, near there's there's a sand dune complex there, and like just a lot of rocks and pointy, sharp tooth things. And we did really well all week with these tires, and going over boulders and rocks and making sure we were planted properly, going over, the pointy bits.
And let's set the stage here. These are Goodyear Wranglers. They're 35s. They're off-road tires. You had aired down to what you said, 20.
So in the sand, we were airing down to about 25. And I want to say when we were on rocks, we were at like 30 to 27.
And these can be beadlock capable. Did you have the beadlock? You had the beadlock?
I'm pretty sure we did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm sorry. I just want to make sure people understand that what we're talking about here.
Yeah. And so, we'd been rolling on these all week. We did notice like on the second to last day that we did have a couple of tears or like marks on the sidewall. But these are like 5-layer tires. These are like really beefy, meaty tires. And so I was like looking at it and I was like, I don't think this is something we need to patch. I don't think this is something, this to me is not a problem. And we had a couple of other people come over and look at look at it and, some other competitors, and they all agreed with me. They're like, yeah, this is not a big deal. You don't need to patch it. You don't need to change the tire. And so we were in Johnson Valley. We went to Glamis Sand Dunes and then Dumont Dunes. That was the place where Sperry Wash was in Nevada. And so then we went back after Glamis, went back to Johnson Valley and spent like another day there. And so we're on the last day. We've gotten a couple of checkpoints. We hit our final green checkpoint and we are 14 kilometers away from base camp. And I know we have to go straight west and it's like 5 o'clock. We need to be back to base camp by 5:45. And we get 4 kilometers into it. And Kristen's like, we're losing air pressure. We're losing air pressure in the front tire. And this was one of the tires that had a tear in the sidewall. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to get out with Gorilla Tape.
That's my girl. That's my girl. Duct tape it.
Because I don't want to change this tire. We have 10 kilometers to go.
Which
10.
For Americans, it's like 8 miles.
Yeah. And I'm just like, this is so, it's 6 miles. This is so close.
You said, okay.
5K, 3.
No. I looked up 14 kilometers. So sorry.
Oh, yeah.
I can do that shit. I'm not my math skills. Not happening.
So I'm like, okay, just pull over. I'm like, keep going. And like, if it gets below like 20, I'm like, then we'll pull over. I'm like, but let's see if we can just make it. And so she's like, it's an 18. I'm like, okay, Gorilla Tape. I'm going to get out with the Gorilla Tape. And so I go and I'm like putting the Gorilla Tape on the sidewall. And I like still hear like and I'm like, okay, this is not the problem. I still have no idea where the puncture was. I think it must have been on the inside or like on the tread. And I climbed under the truck. I was like crawled under and I'm like looking and it's
so hard. Yeah.
I have no idea where it is.
You got to take like water over top of it to see it. It's just, you did your best. There's no way.
We had to change the tire. And that was the one thing we did not want to do. We did not want to have to change that tire. I mean, in my head, I'm like, this is 150 pounds. This is a really heavy tire. And I asked the engineers at the Michigan event, I'm like, how heavy is this tire? And they're like, 103 pounds. I'm like, okay, still really heavy, but not quite 150 pounds.
So it weighs more than you.
It does weigh more than me. And so thankfully, like Kristen and I could not have changed this tire by ourselves. So thankfully we had three other teams that stopped with us, and it was a Jeep, a vintage Land Rover, and a Nissan Armada, like one of the older Nissans, and plotting and scheming, running on neon. And I really apologize because I cannot remember the third team's name. But they all stopped and they were like, well, do you need help? And we're like, we don't want you guys to time out. And they're like, no rebel behind, left behind. And it took all 8 of us to change this flipping tire because it was so heavy. And we had a bottle jack. So we tried to use the bottle jack first, but the bottle jack wouldn't go up high enough. And we're like, all right, we got to get out the manufacturer's jack because surely that will lift the truck high enough. So we had max tracks. We put a board on top of the max tracks. Then we put the jack on top of the board. We put it in the little spot that if you've never had to change a tire in a truck before, if you look on the underside of like the frame, there's actually like a little circle, which is where you're supposed to put the jack. So we put the jack where it was supposed to be. And the jack wasn't tall enough to lift the truck. And it almost broke under the weight of the truck. And meanwhile, we're trying to lower. We didn't have one of the bed accessories where you have the spare tire in the
bed. Yeah. Yep.
So we had to lower it from underneath, and there's this like pencil-sized hole in a dark space. You have to put a tool in and lower it. And so we did that. We get it low, and then we can't figure out how to unhook the chain. And I mean, it was just like this full ordeal. And so we managed to get the tire undone, and then because the truck isn't jacked up high enough, we had to dig a foot underneath the tire to be able to take the tire off. And it took like 2 people to get the tire off. And we're all nervously watching the jack, and then, we get the tire off, and it takes 3 people to put it in the truck bed. And, it took another 2 people to get the tire back on, and I mean, it took a village. And I am like, all of these women timed out. The sun is setting and there are no lights. We're in the middle of nowhere. And there are no lights. You can't see base camp from 10 kilometers away, and there's mountains. And so, and all of these teams stuck with us and helped us get this tire changed. And then they finished. We finished getting it all done, and they're like, "Where do we go from here?" And I'm like, "West." Like 180 degrees. We just have to go west. And so we started to go west, and I'm like, just follow the setting sun. And then the sun sets and they stop. They're like, now where do we go? I'm like, hey, do you see that point that's still kind of lit where the sun was going down that mountain in the distance? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, go there. And so we made it. And, I see WB's comment about jacking the axle, not the frame. And yeah, but you've got to find the right place to put it. And here's the funny part of this story.
And this is where I was heading with this.
Well, there's a couple funny parts of the story. So first off, I had requested the Ram 1500 before the Rebelle so that I could practice changing a flipping tire, because I wanted to know how the thingy worked and where I should jack it. And I had it arranged with my local PR person to come with me, and we were going to do photos and all of this stuff. Well, the fleet managers canceled me out of it without telling me and gave me a flippin' Fiat 500e. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And they're like, well, there's a crack in the windshield. I'm like, I don't care. I just want to change the tire. And so I didn't have the experience of changing the tire and talking through that in a non-emergency situation, which I wanted. And then that happened. I mean, and it was literally the last half an hour of 10 days in the desert, like the last 10 kilometers, like the last 10 kilometers.
And my part of the story, I heard Jill's discussion on this. We were talking about it, and Jill's right. I mean, back in the day, and I'm gonna take myself back. I mean, people would take their kids outside and say you can't get a driver's license until you change the tire, right? It was that's what you would talk about. That's what you would tell your kids and teach your kids to do. But you go through vehicles. We go through vehicles all the time. Spare tires for us are kind of a nightmare because every vehicle is different. Some have a spray can with the filler. Some have an actual spare. Some have a donut. It's all different experiences. But we get to Michigan, and I had just finished riding with Pete, the engineer I rode with, and Jill was discussing with her engineer. So that event, you rode with another engineer, and you had to drive separately. So that's why the video only shows me and Pete, and Jill has a cameo. We'll just go out there in the on-road portion. But she goes to Pete, and she's talking to the engineer, and the engineer goes, Pete, like, what's going on? And Pete's like, yeah, we took him out to Johnson Valley as well, and we went through tires like crazy.
Yeah, they went through tires like crazy. We went through one tire.
Right. And so you actually did better than engineers were trying. I mean, that they did their best to get, to test the vehicle out. But then he says to you, oh, yeah, by the way, we actually made a jack point under the lower control arm because we couldn't get the truck up high enough to get the tire off. And that's 4 engineers who were also off-road desert racers. And one guy's like an amateur, like, champion of stuff, off-road racing. Like, these guys are they're like legit off-road racers. And the guy was like, well, I wish we would have told you that before I left, because what they did was they put a spot in the lower control arm that compresses the control arms and lifts the truck up from the control arm aspect. And that way you can get the tire off. And the look on Jill's face was it was a mixture of angry, a mixture of despair, a mixture of, oh my, I'm going to kill you. It was like a mixture.
This like 10 days ago.
It was a mixture of all sorts of things. So yes, so there are actually, and the thing is, like, you're saying, well, why didn't Jill read the owner's manual? Why didn't Jill do? I mean, there's not that much time for this event, and you did not have time. You had to get out.
We had this vehicle 4 days before, and by the way, the owner's manual is probably not going to tell you, oh, by the way, there's this jack point on the axle.
Right. No. Yeah. The owner's manual, at that point, may not even been published because it's all pre-production, and you got that before it launched.
And by the way, before you taught me to GTS, they take your phone away, so like you have no access to the Googles.
Yeah. So part of the rally is they cover up all navigation, so you don't have access to maps on the screen. Her screen was funny. You had some sort of like, did Jill kill the engineer? The guy had some laser eyes in his forehead for a little while. They covered up the screen.
Evil eye, but
yeah, so they had to cover the screen. It's like a sheet of paper. They took away their phones. Like this is just the perfect example of perfect storm example. It's just there's nothing you would have done differently. I still do not judge you for any of this actions. That was the best you could have done. There was nothing you're gonna do. And
maybe we could have put 2 more max tracks in there. I mean, all of us had max tracks. Maybe we should have.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It's yeah. No. There's just nothing you could have done in the situation. So we. But that engineer, he was apologetic, and he was just like, oh, we should have got this sooner to you. But he couldn't do anything because of the production plant issues, and it's just how it happened.
And what's funny is, like, we actually had a Zoom with the engineers before the event, but like changing a tire wasn't something that was on our radar of questions to ask. Like, we were worried about the air filter because we knew it was going to be dusty and dirty. We were concerned about like the drive modes, and should we be using Baja, or where should we be using mud and sand, because we had never seen the vehicle. We had never driven the vehicle. And so we're like, just trying to, where should we air down the tires? What do you recommend? What, and so we were just trying to get practical advice. And we'd never blown a tire during the rally before. So we just assumed we wouldn't. But this course was so gnarly. I feel like the Kia team must have changed 4 tires. I don't know if there's anybody, like, maybe there were teams that didn't have to change tires, but it seemed like every time I was driving down a road, somebody was off to the side changing a tire.
Yeah, and I've driven in that valley because of our work. I've driven in that valley many times, and it is quite the drive. And there are some really sharp rocks anywhere you go. If you get off the trail by just a millimeter, it's crazy. That trail is. So then we get to Michigan, and Michigan is a gravel pit. What's from my aspect of this, which is fascinating for me, is I grew up I don't want to say grow up because I lived in 4 states, 3 states. Yeah, 3 states. So I don't want to say I grew up there, but I graduated high school 6 miles from the place we were at, and they built it after I left. So I was like a combination of like deja vu hit me in the face the whole time, and like I literally took a trip with Jill. We went by my old house, went to school, made her drive by the high school. I mean, just we did this whole like trip with her because about a year ago I took her to uh, Lima, 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 and where she grew up in, was it Ohio?
Well, where my parents grew up.
Yeah. Where there's a Seminello on the side of a building there.
I know. Take my picture. Take my picture.
Is pretty crazy how much pain it took to spell that out. But anyways, so we did that, and then we went around town and did the whole thing. But it was an old gravel pit, and it was really cool off-road trails, jumps, and the whole 9 yards. And I had a blast, and I know that Jill had a blast because I see the smile on her face. And
it was so much fun. I did the course twice. Did you do it twice?
I went to do it twice, and then I saw the Ram RHO, and I wanted to talk to her, and then I had lunch, and I was like, well, I don't want to do. Here's my rule: jump on an empty stomach. Do not jump on a full stomach. That's
I went 2 times back to back. I was like, I must do this.
Yeah. So I was, and I knew I wanted to film it, and this was a big deal for me to film this, and so I was really worried about my camera. I had a lot of things on my plate that day, and plus deja vu and everything going on. So Jill did it twice. Jill, and the other thing too is I got down the first lap with the engineer, and he was just laughing. He's like, "You nailed this course." Because I've done this a few different times, and I just know what the truck is probably capable of, and I felt like I had a good experience. I felt like I nailed it. I felt like I got what out of it. And my rule of thumb with these off-road trips and also track trips is you usually get 3 times. On a track, you get 3 times. You get the introduction lap, you get the lap you're gonna do yourself, and you get the 3rd lap. And typically, what happens is introduction lap really slow and cautious. Second lap, you get some confidence. 3rd lap, you get too confident in the wall. So I know myself, and I did 1 and 2 really well. Like I went out, I did a circle, I came back to the whole jump and stuff, and I felt like I did 1 and 2. So I thought if I did it again, it'd be 3 for me, and 3 for me means it's not good things. So I just thought that's a bad thing. So you did it twice. I jumped the TRX and I've jumped to RHO, and it's incredible how much both truck. I mean, it's the same truck, right? Different engines and things, but how crazy cool they are jumping. Like it's this momentary time where you're suspended in the air, and you feel like it lasts for a long time. Sure. But really on camera, it's like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But it is very cool.
And it was funny because like you kind of, the way they did it is they had us perch up at the top of the hill, and they wanted us to look at the jumps that we were doing. They gave us very specific instructions. They wanted us to look at the head-up display, and they're like, the first one, you have to go exactly 37 miles per hour. And then the second one, you can go 55 miles per hour. And the third one, you got to do like 45 miles per hour. And so the engineer, like, I don't know if the engineer was nervous because I'm a girl or what, but he was just like, go faster, slow down. I'm just like, you told me to go faster, so I went faster. And then we get out, and he's like, I'm sorry, I freaked out on you. I was like, okay. And so the second engineer I went with, he was just like, go faster. And I didn't slow down enough for the 3rd jump, but I mean, I was probably still going 55 over the 3rd jump. And we like, and he was just like, he's like, see, isn't this great? You just went to the limits of the truck. This is so awesome. And I was just like, it really is actually awesome. Yeah. But I mean, if you look at some of the pictures, the jumps, like when other automakers do jumps, like it's like,
get off the ground like this much. And we're in helmet and Hans devices, and helmet and Hans devices jumping is so hard because they're like, here, no helmet, no Hans, just go.
Yeah, I mean, as Gene just said, and it just was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And I mean, it just like was like it was leaping, and it just gradually, like, delicately, took, the I mean, I don't know. And I was just like, and when I finished those jumps, I was like, again, I got to go again. And it was amazing. And what's funny is, like, accidentally we did take air a couple of times during the Rebelle, because Kristen, you know, she's certainly a very diligent driver. But we like boom during the rebel, and I'm like, I have a map board, you know, and I'm like looking at maps, and I've got like a magnifying glass, and she goes up, and I'm like, you know, down. She's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry, and I was just like, that's fine. She's like, well, that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, and I was like, that was fine. She's like, it was actually kind of fun, and I was like, it was fun. She's like, okay, good. I thought so, but I was really concerned.
Well, and you got to tell people the text you sent after the event to Kristen.
Oh yeah. So like after I did my first loop, I texted Chris and I was like, we totally could have pushed the truck a lot harder than we did.
Oh yeah, yeah. And so I had some comments on YouTube when the video went out. I did not realize how much I was grinning. The entire video, like I have a smile on my face. I even now I'm thinking about it, I have a smile on my face. And people are like, your cheekbones gonna hurt from falling so much. It was so much fun.
So good.
It was so good. And I love the TRX. And I understand people are losing their absolute minds on YouTube about the exhaust note on whatever. On the RHO. That's the same thing happened to the Raptor, and the Raptor R came out. And if you want to spend more money on the Raptor R and get the V8 exhaust note, I totally understand it. I completely get it. But I don't care because I'm whipping that thing through the corners and I am flying through stuff, through the mud and stuff. I don't hear the exhaust note. I don't have time to hear the exhaust note. I'm too busy driving the hell out of this truck. And it took it. And the thing I was really impressed with was how much, to me, and I read some other articles on this, and I think we're mostly in agreement. I feel like it's faster than the TRX off the line. Not the 60. The TRX is a 0.1 second faster than 60. I feel like it's that first initial like second half. Like it's a smoother, more linear. Feels like power output, and it's so. And I had the engineer in the video with exhaust note explain inline 6 versus V8 and stuff because I can't. I don't have an engineering degree. I can't explain it to you in a way that makes sense. And I'm really struggling to explain it. The inline 6 just feels different. It just feels like it's such a different feeling. And so while I love the TRX and I jumped TRX and I drove TRX and Jill drove TRX and Jill has the greatest video ever of TRX in Chicago, which by the way, somebody asked about the Ram RHO in Chicago, which Jill will be doing a Ram RHO in Chicago. It's hilarious.
If you give it to me, I will, and they'll probably be like, "No, you've driven it enough."
It's hilarious. The one photo I remember, she was outside of a Walgreens or something, and literally was like, "Duck, duck, duck, goose, duck, duck, duck." Like the TRX was like 80 inches wide. Yeah.
Oh no, that was when I was. I think I went to Orange Theory, and I was
it's so massive, and it's so massive in Chicago. It's funny, but it's fine with me. It's a good area. So it is, but it's so much. It's so good. And then we took it on road. So we drove around an area where I used to live and took it on road. And as Allie pointed out, the roads in Michigan are, well, a lot to be desired. When I was growing up there, every person running for the governorship would talk about fixing the roads, and they never really fix the roads. And so the roads are terrible, but the suspension, even on road, soaked up the vibrations on the road, and it wasn't like sloppy. That's the thing I get a lot with off-road trucks with the suspension. On road is very sloppy. This one was very balanced and nice to drive.
Yeah, no, I love this truck. And you know, one of the things that I said in my article on the drive is it doesn't look as big as it is. And I don't know why. It could be the hood scoop. It could be, you know, the fenders aren't like flared out, but like I think of the TRX versus this, and it somehow seems smaller.
Yeah, you pointed out with the Tacoma, and I tend to agree. I feel like the Tacoma is bigger than it feels like, and this one just felt good. And I came home, and my wife said to me, she goes, "Well, how do you like your new truck?" Let's understand something now. I am buying that truck, that color, that combination, everything. It's not mine yet. I have to wait for production. Again, they're building like 4 to 5 of these a day or whatever. So it's not mine yet. So there's some confusion. I'm trying to be very clear in the videos and stuff. But I told her, I said, "You will like this truck." And that was straight from Jill. Jill had said to me that she enjoyed driving this truck. You know, and I'm not trying to be sexist here, but Jill girls are different, right? And she enjoyed driving this truck. She the sight lines were good for her. The hood wasn't as big and so overpowering, and so she was able to see over it.
Adjustable
And
pedals.
adjustable pedals, and she had a great seat position, and it felt really comfortable for her to drive, and it felt like she wasn't worried about this big boat backing into things. And I think that's one of the big things was like, wow. And we were in the video that I didn't show, which again I apologize for that. We're discussing this with the TRX back and forth, and it was like the TRX might have started at a lower price, but eventually got expensive quick, $100,000. And frankly, it got, so what you have here is you have an RHO that has a worse exhaust note. Period. It does. However, the RHO to me is quicker, more balanced. It gets 5 miles per gallon better in just city driving, or city driving. I think it was 3 or 4, whatever. Combined is like 21, right? And we were idling and stuff, so we couldn't give you a real number. I'm not going to give you that real number because we don't have a real number. It was quicker for me. It felt really comfortable. You get the level 1 package for $84,000. You get everything you can possibly want in a truck: heated, cooled seats, big screen, the massaging, all the stuff. Somebody pointed out that it's gonna break. It's all stuff. It's gonna break. Well, you know what, guys? Trucks today have less stuff that breaks. I take my 62 outside. Everything's broken on that. Everything gets broken all the time. These trucks are more reliable than you would have ever imagined. So it's like, I was really happy with it when I got done with it. And the rear seating room is fine, is great. The bed, the only issue that I have, and the same issue that Jill has, we can't get in the bed. And Jill used the bed step, and Jill needs about, I don't know, will you say 45 more cheeseburgers a day to get enough weight to push that down?
During the Rebelle, I was trying to get the bed step down, and I'm like jumping on it, and I like literally, it was a springboard, and I like flew off backwards and landed on my butt, and I'm just like, ow. No more bed step for me.
Yeah, so I'm gonna get some comments here because there's some comments going on. Yaz is lots of comments. I want to get to Yaz. He's tons of comments here. You think straight pipe Prius sounds better than Hurricane? She focused on keeping it quieter. I don't know what was wrong with my camera or my mic or whatever, but it did not translate well. I will say that. And I'm kicking myself because my new mics from DJI are magnetic. I should have put it on the bumper and let it drive off under power instead of being parked. I would probably done a better video. I screwed that. I will take ownership of that one. I don't think it's that bad. I really think it's a much ado about nothing. The Raptor came out with the V6. People complained about the exhaust note. Guess what? Ford sells a hell of a lot of Raptors. Okay. How are the cameras for parking? The cameras are really good. And the bigger screen is your friend. People get mad about these big screens, but these big screens allow you to see the cameras better.
Yeah, and we had to cover up our cameras, so we didn't get to use them during the off-road, rally.
Yeah, and I don't feel like
before and after they were really good.
Yeah, I don't think you needed cameras too much for parking because it does. Turning radius is pretty good. I didn't have an issue with that. Who knows how long Stance will be in business too? I heard they have a lot of drama going on. That's a lot of clickbait stuff on YouTube. I had a conversation with the Ram CEO, and I kicked myself for not recording it. But I wanted to have a casual conversation with her before I got her on camera because I want to develop this relationship before I get in the camera. And she is so excited. Understand that they are in transition period. The Ram Classic's dead. The prior generation Ram's dead. The heavy duties are old. The Ram Rev is coming out. The extended range Ram Rev, I always lose the name of this, is coming out. Ram Charger is coming out. They're just now starting production of the Ram RHO, and they slowed down production of the plant in January, February. And she said, look, she goes, we had the wrong product on the wrong lot. We weren't giving incentives. Our dealer day supply built up. And now we're putting more incentives on the hood. We're getting newer vehicles out there with a better collection of market of options and things. Guys, what you're hearing now, I don't think you're going to hear in the future. And people call me Ram fanboy. I've owned other trucks. Don't give me that garbage. But I think you're going to be surprised by how well Ram's going to come back and quickly. And these clickbait channels that have this stuff about Ram going under are going to be, I'd love to do a little screenshots of them throughout the video. If I was really that kind of person, I would do that because I'm hearing stuff and I'm going, what the hell are you guys talking about? Dealership lots are finally getting back to where they were before COVID. Why don't people remember? You should go dealership lot and see every trim level, every color, every option, and find whatever truck you wanted. You never had to order trucks. Yeah. But it's like, no, that's changed. The RHO looks nice, but who knows how long it will last. I find that funny. The same guy that designed the RHO designed the Hemi. Pretty sure that people think highly of the Hemi engine. You should at least add a port injection engine like the 3.5 EcoBoost has. I will tell you, I've done stuff with Ford and the EcoBoost. They don't talk about port injection because they don't consider it a win for carbon buildup. People online think it's a big win for carbon buildup. I have an interview coming with the GM engineer Kevin Lukansky, who did the 2.7 liter turbocharged engine that does not have port injection. He goes, we have images at 200,000 miles, 300,000 miles, whatever, showing we don't need it. Things have changed to that degree. Port injection, yes, I understand, scrubs off the carbon buildup on the top of the injectors, but also advancements in oil, advancements in energy technology get to that point. So I don't know. I just find that image. I'm not picking on him. A few of them came out, and I was like, you know what? I hear this stuff time and time again, and I'm thinking to myself, like, you know, people are saying, well, this first year of a Ram truck, why would you buy the first year of the Hurricane engine? It's not the first year.
It's not the first year of the Hurricane engine.
No, it's like year 3 of it, you know? And so it's like, it's so that's happening. Oh, and he says, I like the quiet exhaust, especially in the morning. I don't want to wake the wife and kids when they leave work. And fantastic. Hurricane's your winner. You don't need the exhaust mode note stuff from the, yeah. You can remember the stereo exhaust notes.
So I want to actually talk about this because Harman Kardon was actually one of our sponsors for Rebel, and they did us a solid because we had to cover up our screens and try and disable our GPS. We didn't have access to Apple CarPlay or any of that stuff. So they sent us a thumb drive with music on it, they did us a solid. And that sound system is really, really good. Now, I think that's part of the like level 2 package. So it's not standard, but it is amazing. Like you can crank it all the way up and like you don't hear any like sound distortion. And I'm not an audiophile, my husband is, but he taught me that when I'm in a car and I'm listening to the sound system, he's like, just because I was like, how do you know this is good? And he's like, just crank it all the way up. And he's like, if you hear it like reverberate or vibrate, or if you hear, feedback, he's like, it's a good system, but it's not a great system. And the Harman Kardon system is a pretty great system. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I think you're right on saying that. Yeah, no, that is my bane of my existence. I've thought about how to do that many different times with copyright issues, with the exporting videos and getting truncated as far as the audio quality. I cannot do audio reviews, and nobody does them on YouTube, I think, well, because there's too many issues. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a big fan of the RHO. I was a big fan of TRX, and I'm super excited. This is to be the first Ram truck I've ever bought to have this one. My goodness. Like, Jesus. I mean, not buying a tradesman right off the bat, buying something else. Bud Guy wants to know, watch your Bronco Everglades video. And the thing is, that Everglades is really cool. Would you be able to buy a Bronco at the end of the year for taxes, or does it have to be an actual truck? So people ask me this question all the time. And the simple answer is twofold. I buy trucks over SUVs because, according to the IRS, a truck is a work truck. SUV, I got to keep mileage. I got to keep who's driving it, when driving, all kind of stuff. I'm not good at that stuff. I'm a fairly organized man, as Jill points out that men aren't always that organized. But I'm fairly organized as to the degree I can be. But I will never keep track of mileage. I just will not. I know myself. I don't have the time, the energy, the effort to do it. And secondly, full size trucks are the heart of the market and the heart of the YouTube channel. If you look at any videos I put out, it's full size trucks. If I've talked about having my wife buy a mid-size truck, and she's going to buy a mid-size truck, and we'll have a mid-size and a full size. Talked about doing heavy duty. Heavy duty is just really hard because there's so many different 3/4 ton or 1 ton, dually or not, diesel or gas, what trim level, what not, and it's and there's so many limited options with heavy duties too. It is just so hard to do that. So that's why I buy full size trucks. It seems like it does the best for the channel, and I'm a full size truck guy too. So it makes a lot of sense. I can't wait to take it hunting and do stuff with it. I'm going to do some towing with it. The towing numbers aren't great. 8,500 pounds. And that's my comment. And like, it's not built for that. It's not built for towing. The payload is terrible. 1,200 pounds. And it's not built for that. And so, yeah, we'll see the reliability of the turbos. It's been over I have a guy working on a story for me, or for us. I haven't told Jill this, but he's working on a story going back to when the EcoBoost first came out and went in development of that engine. It's been what, 14 years? 16 years? Yeah. And so I feel like the turbo argument, I've talked about that for years and years and years, and maybe I'm just being old and cranky tonight, but I'm just like, it's been out for a while. Like this. So what Ram did here is not revolutionary, in my opinion. They took an inline six, which was a great engine back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. They took it in-house. They realized that back then in turbos in 1980s and 90s were terrible because back then they bolted a turbo on the engine. Today, they start with a turbo and build the engine around it. It's a completely different thing. And so what we're seeing now is we're seeing issues. And frankly, when I do reliability reports and things, we're seeing more issues with transmissions. We're seeing more issues with infotainment systems. We're seeing more issues with parking sensors. We're seeing more issues with those things than we are seeing the engine. The engine by itself these days, I don't see that many issues. Yes, there is a guy here and there. There's a guy emailed me today. He's gone through 2 GM engines. He's on the next Ford engine when it went out. It happens. So it's just those are things that happens. But I think Jill and I both left the event in Michigan thinking about how well the RHO is, and we both talk about the loss of TRX. The TRX was just a beast. Now keep in mind that Ram did not say this is a direct replacement. They've been very adamant. They're keeping the TRX name. They did not call this the new Ram TRX on purpose. They could bring it back. They're just waiting their options. Now, they brought through their Hurricane in because globally, they need that engine. They need it in different markets. They need the places for emissions. They need for a global engine. So that's what they're working on.
I could see them bringing back the TRX name in an electric truck, just like they've done with the Charger Banshee.
Yeah, I actually did research on it from an article, which I know Jill's surprised at, but I actually looked it up. The TRX came out like a TRX name is not new to Dodge. If we're gonna go from Ram to Dodge, it's that they had it for Dodge for years. I actually see a guy in town with a TRX in the back of his bed. It was an off-road truck. They bring it back. These are just trademarks. I did see the other day that Chevy finally gave up the trademark for Cheyenne. Chevy Cheyenne was a trademark for years. They finally gave it up. So I think that it's things are changing, and they can bring this name back if whatever happens in the next 10 years of politics and all stuff happening in our world. But I do think that this RHO is not something to snooze on. I think it's something that I know the exhaust notes we make fun of. There's somebody who took my video and they clipped it with some interesting audio to it, which my friend sent me, which I think is hilarious. That people are taking this and making such a big deal about it, because I remember back in the day with the argument in the Raptor and the Raptor crowd, and they lost the V8. I remember there was one guy who sold his new Raptor to buy an old Raptor because he wanted the exhaust note, and that was the only guy I ever heard of. Yeah. So yeah, it's and things are changing. Tim's feedback: Ram needs to offer the 500 horsepower in all trims. It's hard to sell already. They should limit options. I don't know if they will. Tundra doing the same thing. So the Toyota Tundra is the hybrid's only offered in certain trims. I think they're trying to keep the price point down. I think the issues are production. So the thing that people have lost their minds over is the plant being built in Mexico to expand production of the Ram 1500. Realize that Ram has less production capacity than GM and Ford have. So they actually do need production capacity. So I think that may be something happening later on if they have more capacity. People are weird. So Fubar says, people are weird. 100,000 mile warranty must be a bad vehicle. Turbo engine won't last. New design can't buy first year model. But when nothing changes, why do they suck? LOL. I agree. You can't appease everybody. People look at warranties like you said, it must be a bad vehicle. I look at like Hyundai and Kia have 100,000 mile warranties. Like, man, it's a great warranty. He's not saying the RHO has it, but yeah, it's interesting. And somebody pointed out finally after all these years, there's somebody commented in the comments, some whatever, and he says, you bought the first year, that's such terrible. And the guy pointed out something I have pointed out so many times. If nobody bought the first year model, there wouldn't be a second year model to choose from.
Well, and you wouldn't have the improvements,
Right.
that come from the first year model. And
yeah. I mean,
like the iPhone, like I try not to buy it within the first couple of months of it coming out because I don't want to deal with all the software glitches. But
You need those people though. Like
Yeah.
so I buy a new vehicle immediately, and people are like, "Oh, you're just nuts. Why you buy a new vehicle?" I'm like, "Because you want me to have the problems.
Yeah.
My goal is to make the vehicle better for you. I want to have problems. Do you know how much? If I could get a truck and the engine would blow, do you know how much YouTube gold that is? Like, I'm like at the gambling table, rolling the dice, going, "Come on, give me a blown engine, give me a blown transmission, like give me issues because that's YouTube gold." Like, and again, I don't. I mean, I laugh about it. I don't want that. I don't want to be sitting around making jokes about it when I'm making payments on a damn thing. But like, yeah, I'm like that. You want that stuff. So if I buy it and I have not. It's funny. The only truck I've really had problems with is the Tundra.
Yeah.
Out of all the trucks, out of all and I've covered Tundra for years, and it's been a really reliable truck, and I had a bunch of problems in my 22. So it is funny how it works out.
Yeah, and I have to say, so Governor 93 says let the journalists buy the first year models. Probably good idea.
Yeah, I'll buy them.
But I don't know if any of you follow the Car Confection brothers, but they bought a Hyundai Santa Fe, and like 29 miles in, the transmission went out.
Yeah, and I've talked to them at events, and they've said both things. They said, yeah, it's kind of YouTube gold that we have a problem with the Hyundai transmission, and it worked out. But they're also like, it also really sucks because we had all these videos we're going to shoot with it. We bought it for a family vehicle because here's the thing with press loans. People are like, oh, you get a free vehicle. Yes, great. But it's also not your vehicle. And you don't treat it as your vehicle.
Like
and a lot
car
of
seats, all that stuff. Like you're not going to take that in and out of a press vehicle, probably.
Right. And they often have like a 500. They have a 500-mile limit for some of the vehicles around me because I live in, I can put 500 miles on, no problem. And so I really don't want to drive that much with the press vehicle. Like I put a couple hundred miles on it, but I'm like not putting thousands of miles on. I don't have the ownership experience. And so you get to this point in your career where I think you start off and you get a job and whatever, freelance, whatever. Oh, it's exciting. Then you get your first press vehicle. Oh, that's amazing. Then you get your first trip and you go on this, oh my God, it's an amazing trip, all that kind of stuff. And then about 10 years goes by. You're like, okay, I got a press vehicle. All right. I don't want to go on that trip. I'm going to turn them down. It's just, you get this point where it's like.
Okay, so 20 years later, I'm like, yes, I got another press vehicle. Right. Yes, I'm going to take that trip. Somebody should not be doing the job if they're not excited about it anymore.
I'm still excited about doing my job, but I'm like, it's like, it becomes old school a little bit. It's like, it's like, come on. It's like, there's certain vehicles you get excited about, like you get a Bronco, whatever. But
I'm excited about the stupid Toyota Camry, and I don't mean to call it stupid.
Right, but
I'm excited about the Toyota Camry.
I was just going to bring that up because the only way you can do this job effectively is that you're still excited about the Toyota Camry you have in your driveway for review, even though you've had it for 16 years prior to that. You have to be same excited as you were when you got it for the first time. That's the only way to do this job. I have a Nissan Altima in my driveway. They just dropped off. I'm excited about checking that out. I really am.
You want to know the car that I was the most excited about?
What's that?
The Nissan Sentra.
Because Nissan's come a long way, and I'm
really nice car.
And I'm really curious what's going on with that. So it's like, yeah. So I want to know, and so I'm still, as a journalist, I'm still excited about these cars because I still want to know things. Now I have the car channel doing this thing, whatever. But I still want to experience cars because sometimes I can take the car knowledge applied to SUV, applied to truck stuff. I want to be in manufactured vehicles because it just gets me thinking about them, thinking about what's going on over there. So that's what I want to do. But that's the name of the game. You have to still be excited about stuff. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it's easy. Sometimes it's whatever. Yeah. And now we're talking about the Toyota Camry and the truck Camry.
Governor 93 says it's really nice. It is really nice. I did not get good gas mileage, but I think it's because the vehicle wasn't broken in yet. I think it only had like 800 miles on it when I got it.
Yeah, there's something still about that too. This RHO, I'm probably gonna put some miles on. I'm gonna do a lot of miles on it. I really. Oh, on a side note, he got a 2024 Kia Telluride SX Prestige X Pro.
Can the name get any longer?
Yeah, exactly. My wife, I love it. Kia's come a long way. Yes, Kia has come a gigantic way. Mm-hmm. I went to a dentist today, and of course, he asked me what I do, and it's new dentist, and so I had to do the whole. And I don't like talking about my job anymore around town. It's because I live in a small area. It's so bizarre as a job. And he's like, well, those Dodges were just terrible all the time. I'm like, yeah, they've come a long way. They had to. Kia, come a long way. They had to. Same deal. And I would argue that trucks and SUVs have never been more reliable than they have in today's world. because of journalist feedback, customers feedback, and the competition online. Like you get a bad vehicle, you go to a forum, you bitch about it, and you do a YouTube video, whatever you want to do. You have your own channel on this vehicle, how terrible it is, and it influences customers. And automakers pay attention to that stuff, and it makes a difference. So, all right, that's what we got for you tonight. It's been an hour. Well, that was our agreed upon promise with you, the viewer, listener, all the people.
Anybody know what the score of the Dodgers game is? I
Right? I'm like,
the beginning was
I turned my phone over. It was
fourth game of the World Series.
Oh, he hit that grand slam home run, bottom of the 10th. I was in bed because I was in Michigan because Eastern time zone's terrible. But yeah, I really want to see what's going on. So I'm gonna go see what's going on.
Yeah, but what's the score?
I don't know. I'm gonna go find out.
Boo.
Are we gonna do I have to pull it up for you right now?
Maybe.
All right. On the left. Ooh, it's 2-1. Mid-third.
Yankees scored before we finished.
I know, that was kind of the bet. Yankees were like, oh, it's been amazing. All right, anyways. Yeah,
okay.
Frank's got it.
Thank you, Frank. Frank could find it faster than you could.
Yeah. So anyways, that's what we got for you tonight. As always, thanks for watching. We will see you down the road. As long as Yankees lose. LOOSE.